someone's story. I want to know that person's my teacher today.
Mm.
Hopefully I'll learn something from you today. I'm really open to being a student.
Yeah.
I don't think a big part of martial arts is humility and balancing that with confidence or power. So, you become confident, you become stronger mentally, physically, emotionally, but it always has to be grounded in humility.
Welcome to the Gifts from the Edge podcast, where you are about to meet parents and professionals, educators and entrepreneurs who have taken the path less traveled, and by doing that, have made all the difference. Now it's time to step out of the ordinary. Here's your host, Andrew Lord.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Edge, the place where hopeful life seekers can meet with seasoned pioneers, men and women who have walked through the wilderness and who have returned with wisdom to share. I'm Andrew Lord, and I'm feeling super special today. I'm so excited to be introducing you Nadine Champion, who is an author, TEDx presenter. She's a highly sought after speaker, a black belt martial artist who has not only trained for 30 plus years and won dozens of high level title bouts, but she's also faced and won her own personal battles, including one against Hodgkin's lymphoma. She now trains and inspires men and women to learn and grow, teaching them high-performance mental strategies, how to change their thinking so that they can reach their highest potential. So I'm super excited, super pumped, because she's agreed to come and share some of her story with us. Nadine, thank you so much. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Andrew, thank you so much. That was a very nice introduction, and I'm super pumped to talk to you.
Cool. Let's get into this. All right. So I think that we do actually have a lot in common. All right. And people who are listening might be thinking, oh, that's probably a passion for mindset or helping people meet their highest potential or training leaders. But to be honest, I think it goes a lot deeper than that. And that is from the earliest years growing up. I too have a profound love for the Karate Kid.
I love it. What a movie.
I must have watched that movie more than 100 times. And when I was about 12 years old, my family went to LA and I found one of those little twirly drums, from episode 2 in a gift shop. Yeah. And I just was blown away when I saw that. And I had to do a book project in school and I used my little twirly drum as the centerpiece. I did the Karate Kid as a book project. Now, admittedly, you probably have taken your love for the Karate Kid just a little bit further than I have. beyond a book project in year 7. But can you tell us about that? Can you tell us about the passion that sort of shaped? I think everyone loves that hero story, perhaps from their childhood. But can you tell us, why did it sort of go to that next level for you? Tell us about your passion.
I think we all have something like that when you look back on your childhood, or even your younger years as an adult, something that hit home for you and inspired you. And, I think these days, like, I still go looking for that. That's why I'm excited to talk to you today, because I'm a consumer of people's stories. I seek out inspiration and learning from other people's lessons. So I guess that film just hit home with me. I thought it was really cool. And it took me a long time to realize that it wasn't so much, Daniel-san winning the tournament or, anything that really interested me. It was because he'd found a Mr Miyagi. And I went looking for one. It took me about 10 years to find one. But hilariously, I found him also in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, which is where that film was made. But I found my Mr Miyagi, who's a man named Benny the Jet Urquidez. I'll call him Sensei Benny today. But I've been a student for about 25 years. And, I'm a huge believer in the life-changing power of mentors, of teachers, wherever we find them in life, having good people in your corner and being able to be of service to other people by fulfilling that role to them.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of the people who listen to this podcast, I know, are in the education space. They work with young people. In reading your story, it sounds like you perhaps were searching for that, but didn't quite find that in your early years. You know, can you tell us about some of those early years and, you know, just some of the struggles that you faced growing up?
Yeah, I think we all have something, you know, like you might have had a great family life, but struggled at school. School might have been easy for you, but, you know, maybe things weren't great at home. There's always something that teaches us when we're younger. And for me, you know, I grew up in a family where there was love, but there was also, you know, at times a lot of drinking and, you know, family conflict that, you know, created a lot of emotion in me. I'm a very sensitive person. So if I love something, I really love it. And if I'm upset about something, I'm really upset about it. So I had a lot of emotion. I didn't yet understand, you know, the human mind. I didn't understand how many thoughts we have a day, what proportion of them can be used to help us or to hinder us. You know, so a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, and they came out sideways for me as a teenager, as I'm sure many people relate to. I went from being, you know, a kid who achieved a lot and was validated that way to a kid that stopped caring about achievement because I had so much happening internally. So it took me a
That was
long
the
time to kind
wall
of get back on track.
that you put up like as a defense, you think?
Yeah, I think you know, I was angry inside, you know, and you know, anger it's a secondary emotion. It often covers hurt. So I was hurt and expressing that by turning it in on myself or turning it out at other people and protecting myself emotionally. Um, you know, and then I found martial arts. You know, as a 10-year-old, I came up in it and then I imploded a little bit in my later teens and then found it again, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Because my life path has been completely changed. I think it's never too late to find something that can have a really profound effect on us. I'm just lucky that I met my teacher, you know, around when I was about 21.
Yeah. So
And it was an important time. My father had just passed away. There was a lot happening again internally for me that could have been expressed in so many different ways externally. So it just happened that I had someone come into my life who was a really good influence on me and helped explain me to me, which helped me choose a better path externally in life.
yeah. So tell us about, what should I call him? Sensei Benny?
You can call him whatever you want. You can call him Sensei Benny if you want. Benny, yeah.
Yeah, tell us about Benny. You know, he sounds like an incredible person. As you describe him in the book, you think he's someone who you'd kind of want to have around in some ways, but also someone you wouldn't want to have around in other ways. You know, just tell us what it's like to work with him.
He's one of a kind. I've never met anyone like him. You know, it's a difference between a friend and a teacher. You know, I think everyone needs people in their corner to support them and back them and encourage them. You know, we all need a corner team. But at the same time, a teacher is someone who, you know, might not always give you the easy lessons, you know, but it's someone that I really appreciated. He told me in the beginning that he was going to earn my trust. You know, which he did, which meant that because I trusted him, I knew that the hard lessons he taught me weren't because he didn't care, because he was just being tough or hard on me. They were because he was trying to teach me something really important. I don't know about you, Andrew, but, you know, some of the hardest lessons I've learned in my life, you never forget them. I'm sure everyone listening has gone through an experience or had someone speak a truth to them that it gets burnt into your psyche and has a profound effect on you. And he was that kind of person for me. And even now he comes to Australia every year and I'm so excited to see him and I'm so scared to see him because, you know, he's not like most people. He doesn't make small talk.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes even when he came out at the end of last year, you know, there was one conversation that we didn't even have. We didn't need to have it. I just saw myself through his eyes, knew I needed to change something, and then spent the next few months after that changing it. You know, it's the depth of experience that you can develop with someone, I think, that can really have an effect when you invest in a relationship like that long term.
So you've still got that sort of a relationship, like even now. It's not that you've sort of reached a particular level, and it's now we're shifting the relationship. It's still Sensei Benny.
I keep it that way, to
Yeah.
be honest. You know,
Yeah.
like I've got friends, you've got friends. I've only got one sensei.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a lot of teachers in my life. Like I was in bed having a coffee, reading a book this morning, someone's story. I want to know that person's my teacher today. You know, hopefully I'll learn something from you today. I'm really open to being a student.
Yeah.
I don't think a big part of martial arts is humility and balancing that with confidence or power. So, you know, you become confident, you become stronger mentally, physically, emotionally, but it always has to be grounded in humility. So if I start treating this person who's been my teacher my whole life like he's my mate,
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring him down to my level, or I'm trying to go to his level. But even the fact he's older than me, you know, he's 72 now. I just turned 48 last week.
Yeah.
You know, he's older than me. He's more experienced than me. He's really lived a life. We have a lot in common, and I don't need to make him just another person in my life. You know, I think showing that respect, he doesn't need me to call him sensei. He couldn't care less.
Yeah.
But for me, it has so much purpose and meaning. And I think humility is becoming a lost art sometimes, you know, these days.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
I enjoy having a teacher. It works for me. I don't need to make him my friend.
Yeah.
Because he's not. And that, you know, there's an understanding there.
Yeah.
That goes both ways. It's not just me showing him respect. He regularly shows me, you know, all kinds of care and respect that I feel very honored to receive.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. Do you still, you said he comes out every year, so are you still training? Like you're still in martial arts and you know, what does that look like?
I mean, I'll always do martial arts, even if I'm, you know, 99 years old and I'm just doing what we call internal training. So I'm working on my mindset, my emotional state, and the spirit of what I do. You know, it's not just putting on a karate uniform and doing flying kicks around the place. There's so much to it.
Yeah.
So I'll always do it, and I'll always teach. You know, I used to teach full time. Now I teach in a different way. So I make my living predominantly as a speaker these days, but I'll never stop teaching. So every day looks different for me. I'm going to go and teach some students this afternoon because it keeps me connected to my roots. I believe that, you know, there's no real value in keeping the best things that you've learned to yourself. You know, I've got an awesome life today because I had an awesome teacher and I was a good student. You know, he always used to say to me, don't tell me, show me. Like, do something with it. And then he'd teach me something and say, right, now I want you to go and get creative with it and come back and teach it to me. So it's not passive learning. And, you know, I get excited still. I've been teaching for nearly 30 years. I get excited. What are we going to do this afternoon? How can I be of service to you? What can I give you? What will I get in return? And it's a way of connecting with people. And if you can find a way to connect, whether it's knitting, making the best garlic bread in the world, whatever it is, that's a beautiful thing, especially these days, post-pandemic, especially these days for young people with the, you know, I did a social science criminology degree. I love a good statistic. And, you know, the levels of loneliness, isolation, separation these days, it's becoming an epidemic. So it's so important to find something that you can connect over and find your people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Would you describe yourself as an emotional person? You know, you made the comment before that you know, have lots of energy, you know, lots of emotion going on. So would you describe yourself as that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of people who are uncomfortable with emotion. I've been shamed for being sensitive. Oh, you're too sensitive. You know, lots of people have experienced that too. For me, I'm passionate about things.
Yeah.
You know, so my emotions sit at the surface. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yeah.
And trying to shut that down and be cool and be tough and be, you know, all of those things that you want to be when you're younger, it was exhausting. You know, and it kept me separate from people in a way where, you know, one of the human needs that we fundamentally feel is to be known.
Mm.
You know, we need to know other people and we need to be known. And when you're protecting and armoring and shielding who you really are from the world, you're blocking yourself from letting people know you and to really know them. So I'm a fan of, you know, the work of Brené Brown. She did one of the world's best TED Talks, Power of Vulnerability.
Yeah.
I'm a fan, you know,
Mm.
and when I did my own TEDx talk, you know, it was the first time where publicly I'd just been through a massive life change, and I decided to do that talk by taking my armor off
Mm.
and presenting not as the title fighter, not as the black belt, you know, where I walk out like you'd walk out to the ring, where no one can feel your fear, where you look supremely confident, because then no one relates to you either. Unless they're that person, they go, oh, she's not like me. This
Mm.
isn't for me.
Yeah.
So instead, I took my armor off. I went out there and I gave a talk that people, I'm told people connected with because it was
Mm.
authentic and it was genuine. And I talked about, you know, what it really feels like before you walk out to the ring,
Mm.
which is very different to how it looks. And
Mm.
we've all had that feeling of, oh my goodness, I have to go and talk to my boss, my partner, the doctor, whatever it is about something, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
But I know I have to. It's going to be good for me, but I don't want to. And
Mm.
it are those moments of hesitation that, you know, thank goodness I had Sensei Benny in my corner to help me get a deeper understanding of fear and courage,
Mm.
what resilience really is, because I thought I knew, and it turns out that I didn't. So I've been on a deep learning journey with that, and I wanted to share that with other people so that, you know, hopefully they can have those 10-second bursts of courage that for me have been profoundly life altering. And I've been so grateful to be in other people's corner. You know, I do mindset coaching with people, to watch them have these little bursts of courage that might just make their day easier.
Mm.
But I've also watched them do pretty amazing things for the people who I've been in their corner, you know, from gaining political office, you know, meeting the woman of their dreams. One of my top students was walking through an airport overseas. You know, he'd just been training with me. He walked
Mm.
past this woman and he thought, wow, she's so beautiful, and kept walking. And then he heard my voice in his head, 10 seconds of
10
courage.
seconds of courage.
And he turned around, went back and, you know, introduced himself to her, and she moved across the world. Now they're married. They have 3 children, soon to be 3 children. And
That's awesome.
yeah, there are so many moments like that, Andrew, where it's just, you could let the moment pass you by,
Mm.
or you could speak up, take action, turn around and walk back over, ask for what you really want, say how you really feel.
Mm.
You know, there are these tiny little moments that can change everything.
Yeah.
But what I spend so much time trying to explain to people is those moments don't look like life-changing moments.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at me on the stage at the Opera House doing that TEDx talk, that moment absolutely changed my life.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the moment that changed my life. It was actually when I was having coffee with one of my students, who's also my friend, and she said, "Would you ever think about doing a TEDx talk?"
Yeah. That was the moment of courage there.
That was the moment. And
Yeah.
if you think about your life, you know, if everyone listening thinks about their life, you can reverse engineer
Mm.
right back to the beginning moment. It's like the spark that lights the fire, where you wondered, you know, maybe I could start a podcast.
Mm.
Maybe I could work in this industry. Maybe I could ask that person out. I wonder if that person might want to go to that Zumba class and try it, and that becomes your passion, you know.
Mm.
There are all these little moments. And I break it down for people when I go and do corporate talks as well. You know, the idea that the moment isn't the final moment where you can point at it and go, yes, that was the conversation that got me into the CEO role. It's
Yeah.
way before that, when you start to have that private conversation with yourself, which is where the internal training, working on your mindset, working on your inner voice, your belief system, is so incredibly important. Because otherwise, in those little moments, we have a negative bias in our brains.
Mm.
We're much more likely to go, nah, keep yourself safe. Don't try.
Yeah.
No one likes rejection or failure, than to go, you know what, I think you can do it.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
identifying those moments and jumping on them using a tool like 10 seconds of courage. Just do it.
Yeah.
Easier said than done though, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I've been thinking about one lately, and I don't know if I'll put this in the actual episode, but I'm going to say it anyway. there's sometimes I will see a lady, and I'm happily married, right? So this is not a picking up a date or a sexual thing, but sometimes I see a person and I just want to go and tell them that they look wonderful, so it's but there's that barrier there because I feel that there's a social inappropriateness to that, and that it's it could be perceived the wrong way. And I've had this conversation with my wife. Like, she sort of shrugs her shoulders and says it wouldn't bother her, but I think it's a fear that's in me, and I think that's potentially fears that we have sometimes reveal the lies that we believe. And so there's I mean, I'm still in the process of unpacking this. I think possibly the reason that I don't do that is because I don't want to be perceived in a way, like I don't want to be misunderstood, because to be misunderstood is to not belong anymore. And so it becomes less about am I trying to do well by this other person, or what am I afraid of? So
you've hit the nail on the head. That's the work I do. You have good intentions, agreed? You're not trying to be sleazy, make them uncomfortable. You just see someone, they have a nice energy, you want to reflect that back to them. And here's the social conditioning that we all have, and I'm going to share a little bit of research with you in a second that'll hopefully make you feel better about it. But the social conditioning says, don't come off like a weirdo. Don't say the thing, because what if they think you're a weirdo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't want to be rejected. We don't want to be embarrassed. We want to stay in our comfort zone.
Yeah.
So we avoid all of these things that we're taught socially. You'll be safe, but you'll also miss out.
Yeah.
And, the way that I flip it around is, whether that person understands or not, intentions are everything to me. And this is a big part of a bigger process, but sometimes we don't say the thing in order to keep ourselves safe, but we're forgetting that we just robbed that person of that positive energy. And, I talk about everyone's fighting for something. You don't know whether that person's having a great day or a hard day. You don't know how that person sees themselves. You don't know their relationship history. Maybe they were with someone who never told them they were beautiful, and you just think they have the nicest smile, and you just want to give them good energy. Our inner world is all about us, and it dictates our actions based on those private conversations we have. Now, I'm like you. I'm a complimenter. If I see something that I like, I want to say, hey, you did a great job.
Yeah.
You look awesome today. I love your shoes. But then, I've taken to just presenting my wedding ring and going, my intentions are clear. I just want to tell you what I see.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I just want to let you know. But the trick is letting go of the outcome.
Yes.
Maybe they'll look at you like, what do you want from me? Or, huh? But what if they don't?
Yeah. And I guess you can't prejudge that either. The outcome might look awkward there on the surface, but, an hour later, smile spreads across his or her face. And
you never know.
That's, you've done your part, you've done the process.
Yeah. And, I was just I've just come back from a snowboarding trip in Canada, and at one of the hotels we stayed at, there was a woman there who gave us great service. And this was in contrast to a different hotel that I was really excited to go back to. And, we didn't get great service. So I was really disappointed. So then when I saw great service, this lady was just so genuinely kind and nice and friendly and welcoming and all the things you'd like when you're checking into a hotel, especially when it's freezing cold and, you want to get to your room. So at the end of the conversation, I said to her, hey, thanks so much. I said, I just want to let you know that I really appreciate you're very good at your job. So the next day I saw that there were these little cards that you could fill out to tell the manager if someone did a great job. So I grabbed one and I filled it out, and I went to the desk, and guess who was there? My friend from the day before. So I said, hey, listen, this is about you. Can you give this to your manager? I said, I just want you to know, again, thank you so much. And we started talking, and she said, this job's hard for me. I've always struggled with computers. So I wasn't having a good day yesterday, and you saying that really made my day. The day after that, I went to the desk for something else. Her manager was there and she said, "Are you the Australian from blah, blah, who said such and such about..." It had this knock-on effect. So now the
Yeah.
manager's smiling at me. I'm smiling. My friend from
The
the day before is
ripples.
smiling. And the thing that got me, she was talking about her issue with the computers. You know, I didn't say it for any other reason than I appreciated her.
Mm.
And, you know, sometimes people don't have someone appreciating them. They don't have someone in their corner saying, "Hey, great job."
Yeah. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
was the last time someone told you, "You did an amazing job today"?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
As adults, it doesn't happen so much. So
No. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could have said nothing, or I could say something and then let go of the outcome. Just like before we walk out of the dressing room to the ring, you hope for the best,
Mm.
but you got to make peace with the outcome, win, lose, or draw,
Yeah.
before you speak up.
Mm. And I think that's what I love about, being a coach. I had one of my most amazing weeks ever just last week, and I was reflecting on the fact that I get to say some of these things. Like, it doesn't seem weird, when you're in a room full of people and, someone talks about a particular struggle, and then you can use that as a bit of a case study to unpack that and tell them how valuable they are, and tell them why they need to position at a higher end of the market and stop trying to play at the bottom. And, it's not weird when you get to do it in a classroom. So, yeah, I think that's really cool. I wanted to touch on something that we just looked at earlier about emotion. And when I think of someone who's emotional and compassionate and a caring type person, I generally don't think of someone who steps into the ring and and goes and fights other people. There's I guess a stereotype around what compassion or what sensitivity looks like. Why did you take that path, or perhaps how did you find yourself in that space where, although you're a highly emotional, sensitive, compassionate person, find yourself in a space where you're staring across at someone, getting ready to punch or kick them?
It's
you know
weird, isn't it?
it is weird. Like, I'm just curious about that.
Like, why would you do that? I look at photos of it now and I think, who is that person? Everybody has something that makes sense to them.
Yeah.
And in my world, the physical aspect of it is an expression of your belief system internally. What can I do? How far can I take it? How will I handle the pressure? Can I perform my skill set in these extreme conditions? It's all a learning process. So, for me to step into the ring, firstly, it was about learning and growing.
Mm.
So it was an internal focus, even though it was an external expression of that. It was about finding out the truth. I call it well, there's a bigger truth that, we all tell ourselves stories. And I wanted to know if the story that I was telling myself was actually true. And how do we find that out? We test ourselves.
Mm.
In my world, you test yourself often with someone else, but in order to do that, I'd learned a number of lessons around allowing other people to be strong. And sometimes we accidentally make them less strong because we're trying to look after them.
Mm.
So I had to read some things in the dressing room before I went out for the match that reminded me that this is her opportunity to
Yeah.
express herself, to experience herself, to experience her own strength, her own vulnerability, to literally gain life experience
Mm.
in the ring. And if I don't go out there and do my best, then I'm robbing her of that experience. I'm robbing myself of that experience. So it was also about personal responsibility, like letting it be her responsibility to look after her, which kind of flies in the face of how much I look after other people as a teacher and a coach.
Mm.
So it was really having to acknowledge to myself and do what we call change my thinking, to allow her
Mm.
to look after herself. And the way that I learned that lesson was, being younger and being in the gym with Sensei Benny when I was just starting kickboxing, and he would throw me in the ring with everyone, you name it, from beginners to world champions. And sometimes he wouldn't even tell me before I went in the ring who I was going with. So there was one day I jumped in there and all of a sudden this woman was literally trying to kick my head off my shoulders and these flying kicks are zinging past my head. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. So I thought maybe she started in Taekwondo. I started in Taekwondo. So I went in to see if she could do the lessons that I'd learned when I started with Sensei Benny, and she wasn't a great boxer. So I had to stay very close to her and box her so that she couldn't do what she was good at. And then I get out of the ring and Sensei Benny says, yes, she just became a world champion last week in her sport. And I was like, oh, thanks for warning me.
Thanks for the tip.
But that's why he's a good teacher. You know, it was him trusting me enough to see if I could swim instead of sink in that situation. He believed I could solve the problem. He believed I would have awareness in that moment and be able to keep my emotions in check in order to perform my skill set. He knew those things about me before I believed in myself that way. So he would put me in situations where, there's a famous Irish martial arts coach taught Conor McGregor. This is a man named John Kavanagh. He would say, you'll either win or learn.
Yeah.
You know, it'll either be a positive experience or it'll be an experience where you walk away having learned something. So another way that he taught me a lesson like that was popping me in the ring with the guy who was mentally challenged.
Yeah.
And, I talk about this in my TEDx talk, and it's hard to use the correct language to not cause offense. So I'm just going to share my experience. But, I didn't realize at the time that my natural caretaker kicked in and I wanted to look after this guy. I was like, okay, cool. I realized I was taking it a bit easier on him than I normally would have. And Sensei Benny went off at me. I had good intentions, but he went off at me afterwards. Like he looked at me like he was disgusted. And I thought it was because I'd been hitting too hard.
Oh, wow.
And he ripped strips off me. And then he really laid it out to me and said, in order for someone else to be strong, you have to let them be.
Yeah.
Stop taking care of him. Stop acting like you know better. You're robbing him of his experience. And the penny dropped and I thought, you know what? I thought I was doing the right thing. I think we do this in life sometimes. You have good intentions, which matters, but, he let me see, like, this guy deserves your best. Who are you to decide what he needs? Give him what you would give anyone. Let him be strong.
Yeah.
And that really hit home with me, especially because being a woman in male-dominated sport, I've been a woman in male-dominated businesses my whole life. I've been on the receiving end of people's good intentions, thinking that, oh, she can't handle it.
Yeah.
Even to the point I was the first woman to win the New South Wales super lightweight kickboxing title. This wasn't that long ago, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Women weren't even allowed to kickbox in New South Wales. It was illegal.
Wow.
Guys could.
Yeah.
But, it's that, okay, maybe you had good protective intentions, but I'm way stronger than having to sit at home and watch.
Yeah.
I want to be part of it.
Yeah.
I want to participate. And it turned out I was just fine when I participated.
Yeah.
So you let people be strong.
Yeah, it's another form of holding space, isn't it? Like it's very different, but it's, holding space so that they can rise up and be the best that they can be. Yeah.
And how do we find out who we are and what we're made of unless we're given an opportunity to get in the ring and mix it up? I mean, that metaphorically as well. If you're never given an opportunity to grow in your industry, to grow in your company, to grow in your family, people accidentally keep you small and you'll never get to reach your potential. So I think being hungry for those experiences and putting yourself forward, having that 10 seconds of courage to put your hand up and go, well, I'll try. Even when you think, I don't really want to get in the ring and do this, I'm not sure if I can. It's just having the courage, I believe there's honor in trying. Just giving it a go.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Nadine, the self-awareness that you've gained over the years, obviously has gone to great heights. I'm just wondering, do you still have triggers? Like, do you still have things that, like you share a story in the book about Benny putting you up against someone who was taunting you. And can you tell us Do you still have those triggers, or have you sort of combated that, or are you just self-aware enough now to be able to handle them when they come?
I think we all have things that frustrate us.
Mm.
I don't think anyone likes being in a situation where someone's mocking them, laughing at them, swearing at them, calling them names, sticking their chin out and trying to say, like he was saying to me, come on, right here, little girl, like give it a try. And, it's pretty natural to react to that. I think a lot of people are emotionally reactive.
Mm.
How do I know? We can all do an experiment this afternoon. Go and honk your car horn at someone. Chances are they won't smile and wave. They might wave at you in a different way. But, I honk, you honk. It's reactive.
Mm.
And, you can see, again, statistically, let's take America as an example, the frustration, the emotional frustration that came with the pandemic led to massive increases in homicides and gun crimes in the States. I don't think that's an accident. I think we react to the circumstances that we're in, the people that we're around, emotionally.
Yeah.
So what I had to do over time by being in those situations that Sensei Benny put me in was learn to respond.
Mm. So
the first emotion is the human knee-jerk reaction, but you don't have to do anything about it. So you might think, I had someone, being very cheeky to me in traffic recently and really being aggressive towards me. And, my first reaction was, how dare you? Oh, really? Because it was someone I thought, looked at them and thought, you're crazy talking like that to me. Because it was a young woman.
Mm.
And she was out of her car and all of this stuff. And there's that part of me that is like, just human nature. Like, who could take who? I'm thinking, you're making a mistake here, young lady.
Yeah.
But, not that I'm so tough, but if this turns physical, I'm trained to stop her very quickly in a self-defense way, not in a kickboxing way, but to restrain her. So I was like, wow, this is dangerous. But just because I want to do something about it, that's a human reaction. It also was Christmas time and, frustrating times. So our emotions get heightened at certain times of stress. So, that knee-jerk reaction, that first thought that comes into your mind doesn't mean you have to do anything about it. So instead I responded by driving away and smiling at her.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
It's about choosing how we react. And also with my high-level martial arts students, it's about making sure they've done the work before they're in those situations. So going deep into your history, we all have different triggers. Maybe someone who grew up in a situation where there was a lot of screaming might get triggered by people yelling, or if they had a teacher at school who, I have a student who was dyslexic and was bullied by a teacher at school. So there's certain ways of speaking to him that he'll react and almost overreact because we all have wounds. Everybody has a different one. I don't know if you've ever said something to someone and they've reacted in a way that didn't equate to what you'd said.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, I hit a nerve.
I've done it myself.
Yeah, we all have those. So I think it's being aware, like I train them as well.
Yeah.
What would make you see red? Why?
Yeah.
Let's look at it. What would your first reaction be? Now, what would your response to that be? So it's recognizing that I can't blame my anger on you. I can only take responsibility for it myself. And high level in the beginning of kickboxing training, people get upset when you hit them. Doesn't matter whether it's guys, girls, young, old, tough, not tough. If someone punches you in the face, you're meant to not enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, we're having a different conversation. But Sensei Benny taught me there's 4 main emotions that come up in the ring under pressure. And I think they're very similar to business and life. It's fear, anger, frustration, and anxiety. So when we're met with a challenge, we either react with a little frustration, like I don't want to be in this situation, or a little anxiety, how do I get out of this situation? The frustration can turn into anger. Why did you put me in this situation? Or the anxiety can turn into fear. I don't like you anymore. I'm afraid of you. I want to get out of here. I'm fearful for my job. I'm fearful for, we have these big feelings. So when someone pops you on the nose, you often have a feeling about it.
Yeah.
And, we go a little deeper with the why and working on our reactions to it. So over time, you don't have a big reaction. I used to cry every time I got hit in the nose when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I got to the point in, title fights where I was breaking bones in the ring and not showing it on my face, just getting the job done, because I learned how to respond to myself and, the outside world. Not saying I'm perfect,
Yeah.
but I work hard on it. I work hard on it every day, and I don't think I'll ever be done
Yeah.
working on that, because, change and growth are possible.
And I
Pretty
guess
cool.
that's a cool thing, it's a lifetime project, isn't it?
That's exactly right. I say to my students, I'm my life's work, and
Yeah.
they're my life's work. And
Yeah.
I want them to become their own life's work, and then to pass that on to someone else.
Yeah.
Because that's what was given to me. That's why I think it's so important for people to seek out mentors and have the 10 seconds of courage to actually start that conversation. Rather than, imagine how many people have looked at you, Andrew, with your business expertise and gone, oh, I'd love him to mentor me. But they never asked you, because they assumed you'd say no, which taps into those social fears again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was very lucky that I had someone who spent his whole life working hard on himself, take enough of an interest in me to work hard on me with me, so that I could work hard on other people for them. And, it's quite the process. But having those social fears, I went to uni and I was like, right, so let me find out more about what we're afraid of. Let me find out more about how courage works. And I want to let you off the hook with wanting to give the compliments. I mentioned before, there's a thing called ego death. So Dr. Carl Albrecht, PhD, created a thing called the feararchy. It's like a hierarchy of human fears, top 5 fears most humans are afraid of. You ready?
Yeah.
This is not positive. Okay. So number 1 is dying. Number 2 is mutilation. Number 3 is loss of autonomy, meaning I need someone else to take care of me, I'm bedbound, etc. Number 4 is separation, which means loss of loved ones. Those are big, heavy life things. But number 5 is ego death. These are the social fears. I talk about this research a lot because I think it's super important for people to understand that we're all scared of, like we said before, being embarrassed, being rejected. How will we be perceived, and failing? But these tiny fears, like, you would think that, being dismembered would be such a bigger deal than the fear that we experience every day of, should I ask my boss for a coffee to talk about getting a raise? Should I, like you said, compliment someone who did a good job or who looks nice today? Should I back myself to try that new thing? What if I started a new career? What if I...
Yeah.
All of those conversations are the things that change our lives the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're very natural, they're very human, but they do have a profound effect on the course that we take in life. And I, in taking my armor off to talk about fear and courage, I wanted people to understand that, it's natural to feel that fear, but change the perception of what it means. Because I think so many people think that if they're shaking with fear before they walk out to the ring, before they walk into that conversation, it means they're weak. It means they're fearful, frightened, not strong enough. It's not going to go well. What's wrong with me? Rather than recognizing, oh, everybody feels like this. Oh, people that I perceive as successful or strong who've already done it also felt like this. So I found one of the best ways to be brave is to surround myself with people who've already done the thing I'm scared of.
Yeah.
That's why I love teachers and mentors, and I read a lot, because if I want it to be possible for me, well, if I can see it's possible for you, maybe that will bridge the gap. Then I just got to have the courage to try.
And as you're sharing that, Nadine, I'm just filled with respect for my students and people who approach me, people who seek out seek out wisdom and advice, people who are listening to this podcast. If you're listening to this type of podcast, you're the type of person who wants to learn and grow, and you're facing one of the the fears that Nadine has just mentioned. And so that's an awesome thing, that's commendable. So thank you for listening. One more question before we wrap up. The book, I've been thumbing through it in the last 24 hours just before we had this conversation. Read it a bit over a year ago. So many good stories in there. Like this podcast is called Gifts from the Edge. And often when I interview someone, there's kind of this one wilderness experience that they've gone through, or this one moment that's changed their lives. But reading through your book, there's so many, there's heaps of different experiences, some that you have willingly stepped up to the edge and deliberately gone there, and some that have just been thrust upon you. I'm going to put a link so that everyone can go and get their own copy of 10 Seconds of Courage. But just to wrap us up, do you have any favorite story, or a story that you think is particularly relevant at this season of your life from the book?
Well, I got to write the book after doing that TEDx talk, and it's called 10 Seconds of Courage. If you want me to be in your corner, go to my website, nadinechampion.com. I'll sign one for you. I can sign one as a gift for, using the words that you choose for someone so you can be in their corner. Because I agree, like what you were saying about your listeners and the people that you coach, being open to growing and learning is so important. And one of the lessons in life that taught me the most, that you mentioned in the beginning, was getting cancer, out of nowhere in my 30s, when I was super fit and I thought I knew where my life was going. And then everything changed literally overnight. And unfortunately, in our society today, it's a lesson that a lot of people learn. I've just had a friend have her husband be diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma, literally last week. So, it's something, these big life-changing moments happen for people all the time. And we can't control our futures sometimes. We can't control the obstacles that get put in our way. I think life's pretty full contact. If you love anyone, it's going to be full contact, in that person might say something that hurt you. One day, someone you love might pass, or suffer an illness, or have a tragedy of some kind that, has a big effect. And it can feel like the brakes of life are just screeching and everything changes overnight. So I think no matter what we go through, it's so important to go back and assign meaning to it. And this is something that I teach my students and the people that I coach, that I don't think it's taught enough. Like, we don't get taught to do life audits. We don't get taught to look back on the most challenging things we've been through. Brené Brown again talks about resilience, and the fact that when we're going through experiences that make us more resilient, it feels the opposite. And that's such an important thing to know. Like, when you look back on that divorce, or not getting the job you wanted, et cetera, instead of it just being the sad story, like, my cancer to me isn't a sad story. Yes, It was brutal, wasn't fun, but I don't tell myself or other people a sad story about it. It's not a sad story in the book, in that it taught me so much. It forced me to change. And I go back and look at it, not with the cookie cutter, I'm so grateful for my cancer journey, but, I could have done without it, if I'm really honest. But I've changed the meaning of it. So the meaning that I tell myself, and anyone listening that needs a new beginning, that needs to change the meaning of something in their lives, please take this and do it. Just grab a piece of paper and change the meaning.
Yeah.
You are who you tell yourself you are. Your responses to things, it's never too late to change them. It's never too late to change the meaning. The only person who gets to assign meaning to your life should be you, no matter what's happened. So being able to turn the meaning, for me, instead of it costing me so much, I look at what happened to me in my illness and think, now I'm wide awake. I'm paying attention. When I say I'm happy to be here talking to you today, I mean it.
Yeah.
It has a depth of purpose and meaning for me. We get to assign meaning, so I focus on gratitude. I focus on, what I can respond to, the things that are out of my control. I try to let them go, and just recognizing that, just when you think everything's over, sometimes that's just the beginning. And unfortunately, we can't see over the hill. We're climbing the hill, sometimes hands and knees with our teeth, trying to get over the hill, and we can't see what's on the other side. And there were moments during that time of my life where I didn't think I was going to make it. If only I could have seen that what was on the other side was better, was brighter, was magic. Did I just wait for it to all happen? No, I had to say yes to those conversations. Like, when I did that TEDx talk, I had no business doing it. I had no experience. They made me the closing speaker. I had no cue cards. I had short-term memory loss. I decided 1 week before to do this demonstration of the concept of 10 seconds of courage at the end of the talk. What I didn't realize when I'm having those conversations with myself and trying so hard to get back up after a hard experience, those little bursts of courage that, you know what, I think I should do a demonstration of this so that people understand that it's not just an idea, you actually have to take action.
Yeah.
Doing that demonstration was what ended up, the first public speaking event I'd ever done, which is many people's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
It's 2,500 people in the audience. It ended up, I got a standing ovation. The audience was in tears. I ended up in tears. It was one of the most powerful moments of my life. Not because I'm anything special, because I had a little chat with myself and decided to take a swing at life.
Yeah.
So I just encourage everyone listening today, go back, change the meaning of the things so that they're useful to you, and have that little bit of courage. Seek out mentors, seek out a good corner. By listening to this podcast today, hopefully that's what you're getting. And then just decide to take some swings at life. And hopefully you'll end up in a position where, you feel grateful, you feel happy, and you feel like it has purpose and meaning for you. And, that would make me happy.
That's awesome. Nadine, that's amazing stuff. Thank you so much for sharing with us. It's just been golden hearing all of the different bits of wisdom that you've got to share. And for everyone listening, like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to find out more about Nadine, her journey, her TED Talk is one of those ones that give you goosebumps. I rewatched it again last night, so I'm going to put a link just below where you can go listen to that. But NadineChampion.com. I'm going to put a button so you can go and check out her website. You'll be able to get the book there. And she's just said, I didn't know you were going to offer that, but that's absolutely awesome. She's going to sign a copy of the book if you go there and get it off her website. So that's amazing. Nadine, thank you so much for spending some time with us on the podcast and sharing with all our good friends out there.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. And it was great to talk to you today, Andrew.
And there you have it, Nadine Champion. Such a lovely human being, so willing and so ready to share information, just a natural teacher. And, there's so much content in this interview. Like, I thought about splitting it up because, 30 minutes is usually a bite-sized chunk for a podcast, but I just could not. I could not take any part of this out. Even some of those slightly awkward side conversations that I had, which I thought I might take out, but I didn't, because that would really be going against the whole principle of showing courage, wouldn't it? And I think that it's going to lead to even more authentic interviews in the future. So I'm really grateful to Nadine for that. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. Don't forget to check out the links that are below, NadineChampion.com. You can get a copy of her book, 10 Seconds of Courage there. I'm also going to put a link to her TED Talk, so you can go and check that one out as well. I hope you're having a wonderful week. That's all from me for now. Bye for now.